Hi guys, it's Gav here from danceplanet.tv. Thanks for joining me as always, and today I've got a very special guest on. I've got Burton back on the channel. It's been a while since we last spoke and we're really looking forward to it. So how are you, Burton?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm really good. What have you been up to since we last spoke?
So it was the end of April. Had to take my exams, move back to the U.S., get back to work. You know, the normal things that everyone has to do in life.
Sounds really busy. Well, on today's show, we're going to be talking about players. We're going to be doing a series on these, but we're actually going to be talking about Dimitri van Bergh. So if we can just go through his rankings, where he's going to get into the World Championships, all stuff like that. Just some stats for a lot of people who are a bit unsure, because there's a lot of talk about who's going to be at the Worlds and certain tournaments at the moment. So if you could go through some of this, it would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so the thing with Dimitri is, right, as things stand right now, he is actually really borderline to qualify for the World Championships, which seems a bit strange, especially since we think last year when he had that brilliant run all the way to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Many people saying was a contender to get in the Champions League, the Premier League. I don't think he was, because his entire year as a whole wasn't enough. But he was in the conversation, and he was playing fantastically. He pushed Rob Cross in that quarterfinal, and Rob Cross only became the world champion a couple days later. But right now he's less than 2,000 pounds ahead of Robert Marjanovic, who's the first man out, and there's some very good players right behind that. Some playing really well right now: Richie Edhouse, Darren Johnson, Terry Jenkins, James Richardson, who are charging up the rankings and could catch him. Mark Webster just outside as well. And down in the 27th of the 32 Pro Tour spots. Nice. So his spot in the World Championships is anything but guaranteed, and he's not in the European Championships. He's probably in the Players' Championship finals, but it's a strangely tight situation for him right now.
That really surprises me, like I say, because he looked like the way he was playing, and like you say, against Rob Cross, he had opportunities, you know, in the Worlds to do that. He then got to the final of the German Darts Masters, didn't he? When Suljovic beat him in the final, but he had a good run in that. But a lot of people say with Dimitri, for people who don't watch him on the floor, and he never sort of performs. He's a big stage player, isn't he?
I think it's more than anything a myth that he just doesn't perform on the floor. I see why people say that, because the fact is he doesn't get as good results, or he hasn't been on the floor at the senior level that he does on the stage. But if you look at the stats for the year, his first 9 average is 31st on the Pro Tour this year, ahead of players like Raymond van Barneveld, Mervyn King, Nathan Aspinall, the latter two of whom have won titles, Daryl Gurney, and Simon Whitlock, are all players who have a lower first 9 average than he does. Okay. And overall, he's even better. Overall, he's 26th best player this year in terms of his 9-dart average in the floor events.
Is he really? That's really surprised me as well. I wouldn't have thought that at all.
And you can go beyond that. He's won, now we're recording this on Sunday afternoon, or Sunday evening, your time.
Yep.
Just a couple hours ago, he won on the development tour today. That's his 11th title on the development tour. All of those are floor events. He's also won the World Youth Championship. Now, the final, of course, of that is played on the big stage at Minehead.
Yep.
But you have to get past 5 matches to get there against the best youth players in the world. And it's not, yes, the youth tour isn't the same thing as the senior pro tour. The standard overall is higher. But you look back yesterday, you had a match between Justin Van de Gouw and Kenny Nyans, where Kenny Nyans in the 7th leg was averaging over 110, and he lost that match.
That's correct. That's insane, isn't it? It's insane. Yeah.
And Dimitri van Bergh has won on a record 11 titles on that floor. He can play on the floor. It's just he hasn't been getting the results. He's been losing matches to people like Davy Van Balen and Ross Smith. Good players, but players that a player of his caliber should be beating the majority of the time, and he's losing half of them, if not more.
And he's had huge experience on the big screens as well, hasn't he? So it just shows how difficult it is and what the future's going to be bringing through with some of these youngsters now. It's devastating, really, isn't it?
It is, and you know, there's a lot of players like him who are coming up and as they get more of that big stage experience, we get these high expectations of them. And it's just only going to be tougher in the future. I don't know how to explain why he's struggling to qualify for World Championships, although but with his dominance on the development tour, he has a chance to get into the World Championships through the development tour as well. It's just he hasn't been getting the results. He's been playing fine. He's been playing well, especially on those floor events. He's just not getting over the line.
I think it's good to speak to you with these as well, because a lot of us do just see it on the big screen and don't actually know the stats and how these players are performing and realise actually what he is winning. And we only take it from what we hear a lot from others. You know, oh, he's not a very good floor player. And actually, when you start speaking about it and what he's won, he is, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think it's one of the, as I said, it's a myth, probably the biggest myth in yards.
It is. So his current world rank at the moment is 36, is it?
Yeah.
Pro Tour?
He's 55th on the Pro Tour, behind people like Ryan Searle, who's gone on fire recently, Paul Nicholson, players that you'd expect a World Championship quarterfinalist to be ranked ahead of, and that comes down to he's not getting the results. And this year, he's not qualifying for the European Tour events. I think that's been the biggest difference.
Yes.
He's not even getting onto the European Tour, where there's a lot of money at stake and where you really can make a name for yourself. Yeah,
definitely. So really surprising. So is there anything else about Dimitri Vandenberg that maybe some of us should know before we wrap this video up?
I think if he can get back to the World Championship, he's going to be probably not the toughest draw that one of the seeds could get in, well, what is now the second round. But he still will be one of the toughest. He might not be playing as well right now as he was 6 months ago when he made the finals at Schalke's Arena as he was at the end of last year. He's still playing fairly well.
Yeah.
And he's not a player any seed's going to want to get, especially after what he did last year on the Ali Pali stage.
He's capable of beating any player on his day, isn't he? You know, he's a good scorer, and it's just confidence, isn't it? I just think there's so much pressure on these players now. Obviously, I can't go into too much depth because obviously we can cover it in other videos, but you know, with the PDC, it's going to be even more tournaments for 2019, even more prize money up for grabs. You know, players are going to have to be really choosy and picky to what they can and can't do. But I think these, especially the youngsters, are just going to have to go for everything to try and give themselves the best opportunity to get involved in as many of these tournaments as possible and get as much prize money.
Exactly. And, you know, when you get to be one of those top 10 players, when you get to be someone like Michael Van Gerwen and Gary Anderson, Mensur Suljovic, you can't pick and choose. And you have to pick and choose. The calendar is too compact not to pick and choose at this point.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the reason I mentioned those three, and we can throw in Rob Cross now. Rob Cross is not playing as well as he was last year, but he's getting closer. Those are the players who really are skipping more events than some of the others. And they're the ones who I would say right now are the best players in the world. And it's because they've learned how to balance it.
And manage,
when you have that many commitments, the exhibitions and the non-ranking tournaments that you're getting invited to, you have to balance it. And you learn how to bring your best when it matters. And they are the ones who have mastered that. Peter Wright is now starting to do that as well. And that's why he's getting back to where he was a year ago. But you cannot play everything, including the non-ranking things. When you're young and you're moving up and you're not invited to all those things, yeah, you do need to go out and play everything and get all the ranking points you can.
It's just getting to that position, like you say. Once you're there, you can then sit down and think, right, well, I can afford to miss all these because I know I'm in this, and it's guaranteed prize money. And then you can, like I say, can pick and choose. It's just getting there with the quality of players now. But, you know, well, thank you so much for talking us through Dimitri Vandenberg. Really appreciate it. Fantastic. Maybe we can cover other players throughout this series.
Sure, I'm more than happy to.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me today, Burton. Really appreciate it. For all of you that watched the video, as always, Burton's got loads of interesting stats and tell us loads that we don't actually know. Please, if you do like danceplanet.tv, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn your notifications on, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.